Hello, everybody. Here I come. How are we all? We seem to be waiting in the UK for these, A, for some hot weather, and B, for some storms. I think the storms come first. Of course, it's Glastonbury this weekend coming up. I'm not going. I've never been able to find a way of getting a free in there. And I worked there for years, and I worked really hard, as everybody does who works there. Never got paid, so I somehow feel a bit belligerent about having to pay that amount of money, and then risking it going to be peeing with rain and have a weekend of misery and expense. I guess that's what comes of getting a bit older. You just don't have the same sense of adventure. And to be honest, 120,000 plus people is not my idea of a great way to spend a weekend. It's just a little bit too intense. Ah, yes, new Raspberry Pi is out, as you say, as he ahead. Yes, I am getting it. I've actually ordered one. It was out of stock very quickly. I'm very excited by this. I say very excited. I'm quite excited about it because it's got USB 3 and gigabit Ethernet, which has always been a real problem for us. The only thing that I don't appreciate is the case has changed, which means the case that I found, which I really like, which is this one, which has got a little screen on it and dedicated buttons. I don't think it'll fit unless perhaps I modify it. I might have to drill out some of this stuff to accommodate the extra connections, which I don't have a massive problem with that, but I would like to. So it might be possible, because having the screen on this is really good, because I use it for showing all sorts of status and whatnot. It's really handy. So if I can somehow cram a Pi 4 into that, I'll be very pleased, because these things are just excellent. And also a Pi 4, I mean, with gigabit and USB 3, we could be talking standalone audio stuff. We could end up with quite a good scenario for standalone instruments. And I think, because you could now buy the Pi 4 in 1, 2 and 4 gig versions of RAM, which, 4 gigs of RAM is not an insignificant amount for some things. Obviously, you're not going to be able to load massive stuff. Oh, what's that? YouTube. Marcolis says, I've just ordered the DeepMind 12D. Yay or no? Yes, I say that's a good. We've got one over there, actually. I've used it in a couple of Friday funds. DeepMind is definitely, for the money, it's hard to beat. And you've got a lot of sounds on it. I mean, yes, it's not a lot of other things, but it is a DeepMind 12, and that's pretty good in its own right. Steve Elbow says, yeah, he's been a TV Glasto viewer for years. Yeah, me too. The BBC do a fantastic job, don't they? They really do. So, yeah, I'm quite... I'm looking forward to a bit of it, although my partner she really wants to go, because she, like me, she used to work there and spend some time in her 20s there, and so she's got fond memories. But I just, the idea of camping in that amount of people, with that many people out of it, for me, I'd need some kind of backstage access, just so at least I've got a safe campsite and a toilet that might or might not be flooded. I don't know, call me old-fashioned. Okay, so what's this? Sean Wayne, that's about the desktop. Any complaints? YouTube, is that about the DeepMind 12D? No, I don't remember having any complaints about it. I mean, I think if you don't need a keyboard and a keyboard, it's actually quite a good shape. It's sort of, because it goes over and over, so you don't have the whole panel. You've got the panels sort of cut in half and put one on top of each other. If you see what I mean, I'd probably find a picture of it. Excuse me. I'm sure you all know what it looks like. DeepMind 12D. Yeah, images. Let's have a look. I'm sure we can find one of those. There we go. That's what it looks like. Wow, 544 quid. That is a hard thing to argue against, really, in terms of, you know, what you get for your money. Pretty impressive. So this week we've just got Yoad on because everybody else is busy or travelling or whatever, the things that people tend to do during the summer. So we should have plenty of time to quiz him, and there's a few topics to talk about. Matthew Smith in the YouTube says couldn't handle Glastonbury anymore. Fun weekend though, yes. Will the Beringer? Yeah, I like the idea of going on Sunday with my daughter and saying, look, this is what it's like, you know, before you commit to going to something like that. Will the Beringer 808 be worth a shout? I would say yeah. I mean, if you want what it does, sure. I mean, I don't know personally how much use I would get out of an 808 style drum machine these days, if any. But, you know, for those who do, and there are a lot of people who do. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned in the preview that we did where it was, you know, what did we say? It was the biggest video, I think it might be the biggest video of last year, just from Superbooth or not. It was like over 100K, something like that. And any news about it always does really well. So people are clearly interested. Yeah, what's having a look here? Ah, I hear somebody. I heard something. Did I hear some video? Not video, what am I talking about? I heard some audio. That sounds like maybe Yoad might be here. Let's have a look. I'm just going to create a bit of space on my interface so I can see everybody. But yeah, I might watch a bit of Glastonbury, although I'm probably going to be doing DIY all weekend. It just seems to have been endless amounts of that. New updates out for Digiton and Digitact. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Did I ever review the Prophet 12? No, we did not. Let's see, what else have we got coming in on the chat? This weather is too much. Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, in Northern Europe, I mean, there's sort of high 30s. I mean, being at a festival is not much fun when it's like that. I mean, stuff where the actual supply of fresh drinking water, it's not, you know, is an issue with that many people, shall we say, and sanitation. Those sort of things start to kind of creep in a bit. I mean, we've all been there. I mean, I've done that sort of thing. I've seen people fall into the toilets back in the days when they weren't cubicles. They were just sort of structures over large pits that were pumped out every day. I mean, I think my first Glastonbury would have been about 1981, maybe. Can't remember. I do remember it, much of it. I probably told the story. I remember because we finished our exams and a friend of mine's dad drove us there, and we were stuck in traffic. And we thought we were really close. It was back in the day when they didn't have line array PAs. They just had massive piles of speaker either side of the pyramid stage, and it would pump out this enormous amount of wattage. I think it was 50k or something. It's 50,000 watts, I think. And I remember because Black Uhuru, who are a big reggae band at the time, were playing, and it was just massive. It was so exciting. And hearing that stuff, you know, that's my most, because of the excitement that was building at that point was really kind of like, ooh. I think I probably had just a bag of pot noodles or some such, some such thing, which is a good tip because now it's incredibly expensive. I mean, you cost what, 250 quid plus for your ticket. So if there's a family of 3 or 4, that's £1,000 before you even start eating. It's going to be 100 quid a day minimum, I would imagine, for adults, you know, including drinks and refreshments and food. It's quite a commitment these days, and it's a bit. I also find it's a bit like thinking about going to a Disney. I went to Disneyland with my daughter when she was very little, and she was really into it. And it's while it's an amazing thing, you sort of feel a bit robbed because you spend most of your time queuing for the rides that are popular, and so you don't get to go on a lot of stuff. You know, the queue to riding ratio is very low, and it's sort of similar with Glastonbury. There's loads of great bands on, but you can't see them all, and quite often to be at one close enough to see them properly, you really need to be quite close, which means you probably got to get there a few hours before, which means you probably see the other, you know, so, you know, you're lucky you're lucky to be able to have, you know, if you've got 2 bands that you want to see, and the second one more so, if you see what I mean. So you have to spend a lot of time hanging about, seeing stuff that maybe wasn't what you wanted to see. Chedhead says, was Sly and Robbie with Black Uhuru then? I don't know. I don't know, actually. I don't think so. I know, I mean, you know, I am totally aware that I just sound like an old git, sort of grumpy old git, but I don't like spending a lot of time hanging about for stuff. And then, you know, ultimately, because I suppose the thing about Glastonbury, obviously, you're going to see acts, and the acts are going to go on for an hour, 2 hours, whereas at Disneyland, your ride's maybe 5 minutes, and you might have queued for an hour. So the queuing to enjoyment ratio is very different, I would say. Okay, so it's got 22. Let me see, Marshall. Was anything else coming in the chats? Oh, I did have this.
Hello, everybody. We're here today at Sonic Towers, where Gaz has come along with the analog.
Myself and Gaz had a shoot for something else that there was a technical problem with it, so we slotted this in. Just because he had it in the car, because he's been looking at it.
Sequensizer.
I think that's a new word.
It isn't really a review. It's a sort of us floundering about, trying to figure out what it does, because it's quite a unique
kind of align it to anything else. And I think if we dive in and have a little explore of it, I think that's probably the best way to.
We should, yeah. Well, before we start that, Analog Solutions are it's a guy called Tom Carpenter. We've done interviews with him before. We've had a look at his stuff. Haven't had a look at a lot of his stuff, but it's highly thought of for a kind of quite authentic analog sound, vintage analog sound.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's one of the things about this. It's, you know, it is VCAs, VCFs. And everything's sort of...
But it has got some effects in as well.
It has got some digital effects, and I was going to come to that. So this is kind of Analog Solutions stepping into maybe new territories. Ostensibly a 2-oscillator synth with a sub-oscillator, a couple of LFOs, 2 envelopes. But it's how those are implemented.
Well, and the stereo filter, of course.
Ah, yes. Now that's maybe its kind of superpower. Let's have a listen to that stereo filter. So, these lovely massive cut-off knob here. But look, if I play with the VCFD tune now, this is kind of
offsets it left and right.
So really, you do need to be listening to this in stereo to really appreciate this. Let's give it some. What type of filter do you reckon this is based on?
It's semish, isn't it? But it's got a lot of resonance.
Resonance with. There we go.
Oh, that's good in stereo.
Really here.
You can modulate each side of the filter with
I think the
different things as well.
Goes out in stereo, if I remember correctly.
Let's have a look at that then. So this sequencer.
Somebody can give us a
nice. You get a real
confirmation of that.
Spread to it.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the sequencer then has got a bunch of predetermined sort of paths which we've got on a mount here. There is a little patch bay on here too, so we could route it into other destinations, but it is set up to go to the filter, the left and the right filter.
Well, it's running off the LFO2.
Yeah. Now, whoops. These are mounts then allow you to
modulate it. Yeah. Or, I mean, the other thing you can do, if we stop that a second,
stop it.
We can modulate.
Anyway, you can, well, I'm not sure exactly when we're going to be publishing that. Sometime in the near future. It's nearly ready to go. Just got to do a few tweaks. But we've got a couple of other things going on. We've got a new series coming out quite soon, which you can look forward to. What else have we got? Oh, I've got this guy. Let's see if I can. I built this earlier in the week. So I've got the Teenage Engineering, that's it, Pocket Operator Modular 400, I think it is. I have to say, it took me probably 2 and a bit hours to build. quite fiddly. Not the sort of thing that you could give to, if you, somebody who wasn't sort of very practically minded. So, if you wanted to give it to a young kid, guy or a girl or whatever, who perhaps hadn't really figured out, how to use screwdrivers and that sort of thing, getting the sense of that practice, it would be quite difficult to build and get right. But it's fun. It's just, for a teenage engineering thing, my first impressions, teenage engineering thing, for that many modules and that much sound making stuff, I think it's about 450 quid. So it's not cheap, but in terms of what you get from teenage engineering, that's not bad value, and there's quite a lot of modules in there. Only thing I would say, again, first impressions, is the control law on all the pots is kind of exponential, I think. So essentially you get loads and loads of range at the very short end of the travel, and it's really hard to tune the 3 oscillators and get kind of specific values in there. There's a lot of width in the range, but some great audio rate stuff. It is effectively like an IKEA flat pack, and the manual is very similar to a flat pack. But honestly, my fingers are quite sore from tightening, because you have to put these little spacers in. Each module has 4 spacers, 15 modules times 4. Each of the spacers has a screw in either end, and you're holding it with it's a lot of fiddling about. It's not as easy to make, say, as the MS-20 kit, I would say. The MS-20 kit's got bigger components. But, so I'll be looking at that a little bit later. Could be a good way to get into modular. Although, unfortunately, again, this doesn't fit into any other case size. So you couldn't kind of go build it and go, actually, what I want to do is put it into a modular sort of thing. An audio nerd, yes, you're probably right. Doesn't that indicate it's linear, not exponential? Well, no, it feels to me like the curve is like that. So when you turn it, you get, if you see what I mean, rather than like that or like that. We have Mr. Yoad Neva. New shot, a new angle.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
How is that looking?
That looks really good.
Cool.
Yeah, I see you've got some new wallpaper in as well.
Exactly.
Excellent. Oh, brilliant. Nice to have you. That's good work.
Nice to be here.
Wow, that looks very impressive.
So,
I don't think we've seen this angle in your new studio before. I think we were coming at it from perhaps. Oops, I think I got that. Yeah, we got that thing. I think we were coming at it from that.
Yeah,
direction.
I'll try to, make it diverse. So every time try a new angle.
So eventually you can collect the set and watch the entire. So it'll be like a tour of your studio over a period of weeks. Yeah. Excellent. I like that. I was just showing the people. I've just built this, the Pocket Operator 400 modular,
and
which was well, it was quite a challenging build, shall we say? And I kept feeling that if I was a kid and thinking, oh, I can't wait to try this, it would be very different. Whereas I was thinking, oh, I really need to get on with the review, and it's going to take me 2 hours to build the thing. What a drag! It was a very different experience coming at it from needing to get on with it. So it's quite interesting. But yeah, it's okay. I think they need a few. They need a few more. They need a bit of work on the control law for some of the knobs. It's not very.
Okay.
It's not very friendly in that sense.
But how is the sound?
It's yeah, the oscillators sound pretty good. Filter's not bad. I haven't had a chance to play with it too much. Some really nice audio rate mod and FM you can get with those. 3 oscillators, very, very hard to keep in tune because there's one tune knob which covers the entire range. It really needs like a fine tune and an octave, because it's really difficult to actually tune all 3 oscillators to be bang on or close to bang on, because literally you can touch the knob and it's shifted because the range is so wide. They could have narrowed the range of it, and then but I guess that would mean more electronics and stuff. But hey.
Well, I like kind of little things that sound big. You know what I mean? Like small guitar amps or what this one appears to be. I just wonder if it kind of delivers on that.
It's quite hard to make, because it doesn't have MIDI in it. You need CV control. I haven't checked it out with CV control to see what the scaling is or anything. I'm assuming it's all pretty, but it plays friendly. So, you know, in terms of how you might use it for a voice, a pitched voice, I don't know yet. I haven't had time. It took me a long time to build the thing, and then I just turned it up, and there was some nice sounds. I think I might have something in it. Let me see. Plug it in, switch it on. What happens? Let's see what sort of noise that makes.
Interesting.
All the usual sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Fairly modular sounding, shall we say?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Nice.
Let's do a show. It's just me and you today. Everybody else is either travelling or doing their summer thing, so we can take it very leisurely. And I'll try not to speak so fast so that I don't fill up all the air before.
So that you can match my rate.
Your word rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, your video is out of sync quite considerably at the moment. That's interesting. Could you do a hand clap for me just to see? Yeah, it's about it's about 2 seconds out.
Wow. Anything I can do about it?
Yeah, maybe just a quick, maybe reconnect, see if that does it, because it might. How's your audio set up?
Just the normal way, just to SCART it into the thing.
Yeah, maybe it just needs a bit of a.
Let me just refresh.
Might be worth reboot the browser, maybe. And that'll take us to 4 o'clock. We've got 2 minutes. Yes, there we go. Science fiction farticles. I like that. That's a great show title. I wonder if I could work that into any of the topics.
How is that? Still the same.
It's still out, isn't it? That's really weird. I've never. Is it? I wonder if it's a reboot, just a quick reboot might solve it, because it may just be that there's some sort of sync issue between the USB and the network or something. I mean, I've never seen it do that before. So,
okay,
you got time for that?
Yeah,
I'll tread water and fill air while you sort your technical stuff out. Yeah, we've got Yoad Neva on today. We just had a massive audio delay on his feed, so we're just trying to deal with that. So he's just essentially. What am I trying to say? He's rebooting his machine. That's it. Get in, get out of the car again. It's the usual stuff, you know. You know how it goes. Put a delay plug-in on the audio. Prologue, let's have a look. And suffering from buffering. That's another good one. I'm going to have to take that one as well. Suffering from buffering. I've heard that before. Where have I heard that phrase recently? Oh, isn't it it's like on an ad, isn't it, somewhere? New Erebus. Oh, the Erebus with the new, with the sort of, hypnosis colour scheme, Erebus hypnosis. Let's have a look. New colour scheme. I wonder if it's on the website. Let's have a look. Oh, there it is. That is very pretty, I have to say. I'm tempted. Well, I'm not tempted. I've got a version 3 here already, but that is really nice. That works for me. Available only at Sweetwater. Okay. Sweetwater strike again with their... Oh, Audio Nidge says... Oh, that sounds good. That's Jamie Liddell's Hanging Out with Audiophiles podcast with Eamon Tobin. That sounds great.
How is that?
Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there we go. Look, we're back in sync.
Okay.
The quantum time shift has been alleviated. It's like there must have been some kind of what's that? I think there's a Star Trek phase, isn't there? A Star Trek phrase which explains why you get timing quantum shifts. So dilithium crystals are now back in alignment. I would say something like that. Whatever those
something
are.
like that.
Right. Okay. Let's go. Let me hit go, and we can go. I'll just get myself ready for the Facebook stream. Okay. Stand by. Here we come. welcome to Sonic Talk episode 581, recording today on Wednesday the 26th of June, actually just before Glastonbury starts, which I'm guessing is now a global event. I think they televise it all over the world, and there's certainly people from all over the world there. I don't know what sort of numbers they're expecting. I've heard various figures between 100 and 200,000. Too many people in one place with very limited toilet facilities for my liking, but if you're going, I hope you have fun. Looks like there's going to be weather, so that's good. This is the Sonicstate podcast. This is all to do with music technology, music production, electronic music, software, controllerism, many, many other things. We've been having a little bit of a pre-roll. We record every Wednesday, and we sort of go live a little bit early, which you could still see on YouTube. I think I'll keep the thing up. We've had some great science show titles already. Science Fiction Farticle was a good one, and Suffering from Buffering was another one because we had a bit of an audio delay. But we'll see what the show brings up. I want to say thank you very much to Isotope, who are providing the prize this week. You'll be able to win a copy of Neutron 3, which is their excellent mixed processing plugin. So stay tuned for details on that. So let's say hello to Yoad Nevo, who is finally, we managed to synchronise, so he's not out of the office. He's at the office now, or at least his studio office. New facility in London, which is has been a long time in the making. Yoad, of course, mix engineer, producer, songwriter, as well as a developer for Waves, sort of by career path at the moment, if that sounds right. How are you, Yoad? You well?
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah.
Good.
Good to be here, as always.
And how's the studio now? Has all the dust covers come off? Is everything functioning as you as you hope? Yeah. Yeah,
just loving it here. Really nice. And when you start designing a new place from the ground up, and all the wiring and all the kind of different possibilities of connecting stuff together and linking stuff together, the machine room and this, and it really pays off. I've been in the last studio. I've been there for 10 years, and I did a good design initially, but there's stuff that kind of accumulated, like more cables and more things and more USBs and more, and this time I think that I got it right for at least a good few years.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I think your delays come back, but I guess we might have to live with it, because if it's going to keep coming back and you've rebooted the machine, I'm not sure what else we can do. So we'll just have to live with it for the time being. If you're further, you're further back in the shot, so it's just as long as you're moving and gesticulating.
I'll just cover my mouth while I speak,
and then no one will know the difference. Yeah, brilliant. Well, like I say, we've first of all, we got Glastonbury this weekend, which is a massive TV event. Have you ever been, Yoad? I mean, because I imagine some of the bands you've mixed may have been sort of heading off to promote the latest recordings there. Did you ever get the kind of?
Yeah, no, I've not been. I've been to the Isle of Wight once, and I actually played there. But that was my kind of. No, I've not been to Glastonbury.
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it? Really, it's.
I know. Probably one of the only kind of people in the UK, but there you go.
Well, the amount of people that go. I mean, I started out going, I think, about in early 1980s. I think I was 16 when I first went. I'm still. I mean, I can't imagine there are many parents now that would let such young kids go alone to a festival like that. But I mean, it was much smaller, so. But it was still very murky, shall we say? Lots of underworld and underground stuff going on there. But it was great fun. I mean, I remember the first year. I'm trying to think who I saw. Randy California. I think Weather Report maybe. Can't remember. So I actually saw Joe Zawinul play live at a festival. It was very good. It was back around the time of the album called Domino Theory, which was, I think, one of the last Weather Report albums. But
yeah, I think I saw this show in Tel Aviv when they performed there. Yeah, it was amazing.
Such fantastic. I think Wayne Shorter was playing, not Pastorius. I forget who the bass player was, but I was into all of that stuff back then, so it was a real treat.
Yeah, me too.
And I was saying before the show that I probably just took a load of dried packet soup and pot noodles to feed myself at the time, but now you can dine very finely at great expense, it must be added. So big can of water and a kettle, you'd be fine. Although you still have to burn. So yeah, what are we talking about this week? Well, there's been it's weird. This is a really sort of delayed action thing, and I'll start with a video because it might explain. It'll be a clue. So
don't have any information how it started. We do have cause investigators, both from Los Angeles Fire Department and LA County Fire Department. Once we get a better handle on the fire, we'll be.
This is the footage and sort of live report of the fire that was at Universal Studios, the UMG group, in the back lot.
If it was King Kong building was involved.
As we are now discovering. And this is something that Universal have sort of been trying to keep a bit quiet. Not only was a lot of film stock lost, but there was a lot of master audio recordings. Sheryl Crow has just come out and has been talking about how, hey, wait, where are my tapes? And because the thing that's what's turned out now is, I think I've got a video here, not a video, a web page. She's really realised that it destroyed all the master tapes, and not only the masters but the backups. And the thing about master tapes is these could be the session tapes, so there might be a whole load of songs that didn't make it on the record, that were incomplete recordings that you might want to go back to later on because it was a particularly creative period, and people quite often go back and rework on their things. And this is heavy shit. I mean, if you don't mind me saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how you could have the safeties and the masters in the same building, for starters. That just seems insane to me.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to a lot of people who have, who work on their iPads or phones or laptops, and I always ask, is it backed up? What happens? No, it'll be fine. Maybe I have some of it on this hard drive or this, and backing up is it shouldn't even be like an issue.
Yeah.
You should have as many as you possibly can, and I can tell you about how I work and how I back up stuff. I mean, it's quite because I work in Dropbox, so all my projects are in Dropbox, so it's already showing up on 2 other computers. Which are linked to the same account. One of them backs up everything to the Apple thing. What's it called?
Yes.
Time machine. While at the same time, it's uploading to Backblaze.
Yes, I use Backblaze as well. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everything that I do is already in like 6 different places, 3 of them of which are not, or 2 of them are not local even.
Yeah.
3 because the laptop is at home, So it's like, and once I recommend to anyone to just create a system that does things automatically, because I used to burn stuff to CDs and later to DVDs and Blu-rays and things like that, and hard drives, and then where overwrite or not, or replace or not, and all that. It's it's much better to have an automatic system that just does it for you, however small it may be, as long as it involves like 2 or preferably 3 other places that the data can be stored on.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's the thing that's really interesting about this is because I remember back at the time, Sheryl Crow, was it Dave Bottrell was the engineer, and Daniel Lanois was involved, and they're really into analog, which is great, and it's lovely to have that sound. But the problem with analog is you can't do that. You actually have to make either a digital clone, which of the or you have to have 2 24 tracks and clone one to the other. I mean, which is a massive resource hog. I mean, that's a real disadvantage, I would say.
Well, I mean, if you're working on a major album, so if you're talking about the expense or the cost of the tape, it's not that significant, and you just do it. You just do it. And by the way, if you want to be copying an analog tape to another machine, there's an interesting way of doing it backwards, because when you do it backwards, so you put the playback one backwards and then you record it to the other machine, and then all the transients, instead of kind of bending or shocking the magnetic field that and create interference which can be distorted are built up, basically.
Oh,
so if you,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So would they sound? So would that mean that they would actually sound different?
It would sound just a little bit more crisp on the transients. It's and then obviously you reverse the recorded tape and you play it normally, and then so if you do it throughout the whole length, it's exactly the same, and that's a nice way of doing it.
That is a really, I'd never heard that.
Yeah, but not that anyone should be experiencing that kind of issues these days.
So there's another question. I mean, because I mean, we used to get copies of multi-tracks sent because we did lots of remixing, and it would always come on 2 inches or dash or whatever, and we'd have to get it transferred. There was quite a big, you know, a studio would have a copy facility because, you know, you don't want to tie up your main studio rooms just because you're copying master tapes. When you're copying from one to another, and there's Dolby involved or some kind of noise reduction, would you copy them without noise reduction? How would that work?
That's a good question. I think haven't thought about that one actually.
Because otherwise,
it would make sense. It would make it would make sense to copy, because basically the Dolby is there in order to prevent or to lower the hiss that comes from tape. Now, if you record it, if you put the Dolby decoder on, then you reduce the hiss first time, but then when you introduce the hiss again on the copy. So it would make sense to basically to let the noise accumulate, and then you may have to tweak the decoder. You may have to tweak the threshold because the noise level has increased. So you may have to.
Not only that. So I mean, I remember back in the day. Again, you know, when you'd have studio rates, you'd have the Atari 24-track. Higher rate, and then you would pay extra for a rack of Dolby S or whatever it was. So if you need
Dolby SR.
So if you were then going from one tape to another, you need 2 racks of Dolby SR or Dolby at the same time. I mean, that just, you know, just the amount of hardware that you need just to make copies is it's insane.
Well, no, not really, because if you encode it once to the original tape and then you record it just straight to the other tape, and then you just need the Dolby again on playback as normal.
Right. Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, I feel you. I mean, I always used to back up stuff. I remember backing up my S1000 memory contents.
Onto that.
ASEBU board, and that would. I'd always have to do it twice because sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. You know,
I know.
You say do 2 times.
You know.
Around.
And have you ever listened to the actual sound from this DAT?
It's like modem, isn't it? Isn't it modem talk?
No, it's not. It's not. That's the funny thing. It actually transmits, and that's why you get such a big error rate, because it actually transmits PCM. If you listen to it, you'll hear like a few blobs, like that, which is the header and the file name and all that, and then it will actually play the file, and at the end it will do another kind of checksum, whatever, end of file. And that's how it would transmit it through PCM.
So it'd like resample it effectively, but the data would be, How interesting.
So it will, So it just gives it the kind of metadata at the end and at the beginning of the file, and then plays it as audio.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, yes, backup is very important. And you're right. The whole cloud thing. I mean, we moved to cloud here for for a lot of reasons. But I mean, the thing that's really scary about this is, you know, there are lots. You know, there's Billie Holiday, Louis Armstrong, Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, Elton John, Janet Jackson, Nirvana, Eminem. All of these people's masters, and in some cases, the safety copies of those masters have been lost. I'm not sure. I mean, not in every case that's going to be a problem. The problem is when there's unreleased material that hasn't been mixed and maybe, you know, hasn't been mastered. That's where you get the issue. And presumably that would only be the tape. I mean, you know, as we know, cellulose film stock, which would have been, that was really scary. They must have lost a lot of that stuff. And digitizing that to high quality is expensive and probably something they would do.
Also, the technology keeps changing. So at the time, you know, you wouldn't want to be using kind of digital copies that were made in the 80s or something like that. You would want to have access to
a VHS, but
you know what I mean. So, and I heard this story. I'm not sure whether it's entirely true, but about the Canadian government who have had this audio museum or kind of, and they did a massive digitizing project, but they did it MP3. So, you know what I mean? So, basically, you want to be able to keep the originals as long as you can, because the technology keeps changing, and then you want to use the latest conversion and bitrate and whatever.
Wow, yeah. So anyway, the fire happened in 2008. Various people now, the big scandal seems to have been that, allegedly, I should probably put around this, is that Universal Audio played down the amount of damage, but in the background claimed like 150 million dollars worth of insurance claims against it, but haven't actually told anything to the artist. So the artist is now discovering, they go, where's my master tapes? It's like, well, so now there's, I'm trying to think who there are. There's a bunch of people who've got a class action, and that they are now sort of rightly, I think, having a go, because UMG Group are the world's biggest record company, and it's quite a scandal, really, that, you know, their entire archive, creative art. I mean, I'm sure it's not everything, but, you know, that there are probably other copies that would then need to be sourced. But geez, what an absolute nightmare.
That just shows you the difference between kind of yesteryear's conglomerates and today's, because now if a server farm on Amazon kind of gets destroyed on a fire or something, then nothing really will happen to anyone, because all the data is kind of spread all over the place. And
I think there are some instances where it might, but, you know, I mean, if it's been a little while since the last backup, you might lose some data. I mean, but we operate all our stuff in the cloud. We don't operate our video editing in the cloud yet, although I just discovered this rather fantastic video editing service which is online. You upload a video, it's for titling and stuff, and so we might start using that, but that's not really, that just means that we're for overlays and whatnot, but it's all going that way, and that convenience does mean that when you're working cloud-based, then you do have inherent backups, and that's the thing. I mean, analog is great, but lots of people, for instance, they might kind of go, oh, I've got this lovely 8-track analog, and they're not going to have a copy. They're just going to be using, you know, like, I don't know, people like Portishead and stuff, you know. I know Ed Utley has a 1-inch 8-track, which he likes to bounce drums onto and then bring them back in, you know, so, but, or maybe not, maybe you master onto that, and you're just kind of like, it's all, that's the downside. So there is a positive to the digital world, and because now the sound is so good that, you know, it's not quite the same thing as everybody sounding like a horrible brash Pro Tools mix from the 1980s, you know. So
yeah, but there was something about that too that I kind of miss as well. You know, there's always something to reminiscence about. The good old 16-bit sound. You know.
Yeah, well, thank goodness. Otherwise, there'd be nothing for us to talk about on this show. But yeah, I mean, I think this story's going to run and run, and they're going to be chased around a little bit, and probably have to come up with something. But yikes! It just looked very scary.
Yeah. Well, I have a few ideas for backups if they need any advice on that.
Well, I think the problem is like, say, for instance, with us, you know, video is a lot more difficult because we're generating much larger amounts of files. So it gets harder, you know, like if we do a filming session here with 6 cameras and the multi-stream, you know, we could generate 300 gigabytes in an hour. And
that's a lot.
And that's not really something that we can very easily just cloud. It's just, it would take longer than overnight to get that up to somewhere, because we don't have that fat a pipe. And even with a fat pipe, that's still probably going some, isn't it?
Time. Yeah.
It's going to be a bottleneck. So...
yeah, at the same time, no harm in having like one old computer running in the background, just uploading all this stuff from the network.
I suppose
automatically. You know, you can have like scripts and schedules and things like that that would say, okay, back me this folder every night or something like that, back it up, and, you know, just let it work. I have one machine like that, an 8-core Mac from Mac Pro from 2008. You know, it used to be a workhorse, but now it just has loads of hard disks connected and a lot of network connections, and it just uploads stuff all the time.
Just for your information, Mauve in the chat room says they have an old 90s PT Pro Tools TDM rig for sale. If you're interested, Yoad, if you want to get back to the old days, you probably still got it.
I actually have one machine which works like a Mix Plus system on a Mac G4 that runs, I think, Pro Tools 6 or maybe 5.4, whatever the last one used to be on OS 9. And it should, in theory, still work. I have a few projects that, you know, that if I ever need them, I can, in theory, load them up and continue from where I was.
Yeah. Hopefully. Okay. How often do you need
Good luck
to do
with that?
I mean, this is the thing, because we've got racks and racks and racks of hard drives. I mean, we get through 2 pairs of 3 gig. We do about, I don't know, however many terabytes, probably about 15 terabytes a year of storage space, maybe a bit more than that. And they just sit there in these racks. And I don't think we've ever gone back more than, you know, I think it's a good ago.
Yeah, but I think it's a good advice to let them spin every once in a while. Just connect the power plug, let it run for 10 minutes, because otherwise the rubber and all the kind of moving parts kind of get dried up and things like that. It's good to keep it going, to let it kind of spin for a while every now and then. I never do it, but I
must admit, great advice, but it's not something I'm going to be spending my afternoon doing.
Exactly.
Like 100 drives, that's going to take.
No, but I mean, I tried for that. I started a massive project a couple of years ago of just digitizing, not just digitizing, but basically uploading my entire kind of data, you know, up to the cloud, and it takes a little bit of time, and you need to label it properly and everything, but then it's all there. And I still keep the originals, but it's there, and I'm hoping that Dropbox will not go bankrupt or something like that overnight.
Yeah, you get maybe, you know, a couple of months to download your stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
I seem to remember something like that happening. You know, we get those things. It's like MySpace and these various kind of music libraries or places where you can leave your stuff, and they say, you know, come and get your things because we're closing down. I'm sure that's happened in the past. It's been a topic, but use the cloud. It is your friend, and if you've got a decent enough pipe, then you can get the stuff up there, and it's not that expensive to store. It really isn't.
No, I would say use 2 clouds as well.
Right.
Like 2 different services, just because if one of them goes out of business or something like that, you still have it backed up. Maybe not as easily accessible, but still something that you can retrieve.
Wise words. Yes. Okay. They probably all use Amazon as a backbone of it behind the scenes anyway. So yeah, that may or may not be a viable.
Yeah, but if Amazon servers go down, I mean, civilization as we know it will.
Yeah, I remember it happened. It happened once. I was on holiday and Amazon went down, and it was just basically everything stopped working.
You can't do anything
for like 2 or 3 days. Yeah, which was really weird. Anyway, we've probably dwelt on that long enough. Anyway, it's an interesting story and one that will run and run and run. I think maybe now let's just get straight in there and do a word from our friends at Isotope. We can get that out of the way.
Presenting Neutron 3, the modern way to mix. Bring your workflow into the 21st century with 8 modern mixing tools, all at your fingertips in one mothership plugin. Starting a mix can take a while, but with the all-new Mix Assistant, Neutron can listen to your audio and quickly suggest a custom starting point for an individual track, or set levels for your entire mix. Shape sounds like never before with the new Sculptor module. Match audio to a target sonic profile and instantly sculpt it to sound more like itself or like something else completely. Reach out and touch your audio with Neutron's immersive controls and visualizations. Neutron 3 comes equipped with Visual Mixer, a tool to help you effortlessly manipulate the landscape of your mix. Neutron 3, the modern way to mix.
And of course, you could download a 10-day demo of Neutron 3 by going to isotope.com and just signing up, and you can get hold of that stuff. We had a competition last week, and we have a winner for this week, and the winner is will win a copy of Neutron 3, and that's the advanced version. So just to point you out, the competition is for the advanced version, and this is Alan Smith, who's at Smithy1138. And they tweeted, "I love this because I'm terrible at mixing," which is probably a perfectly valid reason, because it can help you very much, particularly the frequency masking is very, very useful. But we're also going to have a competition for this week. So for next week's winner, you need to enter the hashtag Mix Assistant and the hashtag Neutron 3. I think we did that for Neutron 2, but we're using the hashtag Neutron 3 this time. So the hashtag Mix Assistant and the hashtag Neutron 3 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. will enter you into the competition for next week's prize. So thanks again to Isotope for providing us with their prize. Okay, so what's next? I got a title. I think I'm going to call this one the Back Apocalypse. The Backup Apocalypse. The Backup. It's very hard to say. Okay. Much easier to write.
It's hard to say.
It is hard to say. I'm not even going to try and say it again. That's way too difficult. So what else is next? Yeah, that title, that oh, sorry, we lost your masters. Oh, and the safety copies too, which it could have been at the show title as well. Ableton Live Synth course. Now, where is that? I think I've got that somewhere. Oh, yeah, here we go.
That was really cool.
This is called Learning. It's basically learningsynths.ableton.com, and it's a really brilliant bit of HTML5 and JavaScript, and you can just kind of... Oh, I don't think I've actually got the audio in. That's probably not such good. I wonder if I can do that now. That might... I can quickly get that in there. So essentially, they've just created this HTML5 web that will run on tablets. It will run on phones. It will run on your desktop. I think this might work now.
Yeah, we can hear something.
I can't really hear that. Never mind. Maybe I've just turned it... Ah, there we go. That'll work. Just full of these fantastic graphics, which I'm guessing they're using some kind of audio engine behind. And you can, it takes you through changing the oscillator speed. And all these brilliant graphics to illustrate, right from amplitude, envelopes, oscillators, modifiers, filters. And it's just a really good resource, and it ends with the synthesis playground, which, let's see, this gives you a number of patterns. And a sort of simple representation of a subtractive synth, all done in the browser. And it seems like a real labour of love. It's really good, isn't it? I mean, it's a beautiful piece of design work, and literally free. That it's just... simple. So if anyone ever wants to know what the synthesis is about, that is the sort of thing that you could use.
Absolutely.
Just what a great resource.
It's really amazing, and it kind of, it kind of gives you a hint of things to come, basically, in terms of education and stuff like that, because this applies to almost anything. Imagine mechanics and things like that. I'm sure there's stuff like that already, but the fact that it generates sounds and all that, there's something a bit sad about thinking about all the kids that will, not have the experience of tweaking knobs in order to get sound. So but it kind of, I don't know, it really imprints the notion that the screen is the way things are at the moment, and the way for things to come, for sure.
Yeah, I think this works. This does work with... I'm just looking for it. So this will do MIDI input. So this has got a MIDI input. Oh look, I'm playing it via... I've got a keyboard set up here, so it's got web MIDI. And it's quite a...
nice.
I wonder if there's any... Can't map any controllers, and sadly, but yeah, it's not going to be long. And we've talked about the web MIDI stuff before. It's quite handy, but it's just a really... You're right, though. It's just a brilliant graphical interface, and well worth checking out if you just need to freshen up, or you maybe don't understand a concept. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. They haven't made a big deal about it. They just sent a few quiet press releases out to a few partners and said, "Oh, do you want to let people know about this?" And so this is part of it. But it is a real... I mean, just the way that all the graphics...
That's amazing.
work. It's really,
I'm going to definitely show it to my 4-year-old daughter and see whether she connects to it, because I think it can be, you know, it's almost like a game.
Yeah.
At least to me, that what it looks like. Maybe she will not take it at all, but who knows?
Yeah, well, exactly, and you can always. It's a sort of low risk, low expense checking out whether or not she might be interested in that sort of world.
Yeah.
And then trying to find a synthesizer that looks anything like that. Because even Ableton don't make one, so we'll have to see about that. But that was pretty cool. Okay, what else have we got? Oh yeah, here we go. Now this was an interesting one. I mean, talk about long tail product life. This is fascinating, I think. So this is from Hypersynth, and it's basically what they've done is they've made some new ROM cartridges for.
Hey everyone, this is Ra from Mad Fame, and in front of me
DX7.
I have the HCard 750 designed by Hypersynth for the Roland D50. The HCard series offers a modern, portable storage solution for vintage synth owners. The current version of the 750 can store up to 64 banks with 64 presets per bank, giving you a total of 4,096 presets that can be stored on the HCard. The HCard has a sleek solid build and features a 2-digit 7-segment display with 2 pads for selecting files. Operation is easy. Insert the HCard, turn on the D50, and the
and then it just turns up like a bank of presets. The same on the DX7 as well. I mean, it's kind of... There's something I like about it, but I just think, why on earth would you do this? Because, you know, just use a soft version and then download all those patches on the computer. I suppose someone might be gigging with that and might go to a session and feel they have to take a keyboard with their massive amounts of cartridges.
For the DX7, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Can you picture that? That would be old school, wouldn't it? Absolutely old school.
That would be really old school. But I remember that there used to be a guy in Tel Aviv that used to make these cartridges, like back in when it was still relevant, which was a few decades ago, and he used to make like, I don't know, 4 banks of 64 or whatever. You know, it was a huge amount for the time. But even back then, I used to work with the DX Droid for the Atari to create all the sounds and store and manage all the presets and all that. So yeah, I don't know. It's a nice kind of gesture or something, or salute to this old technology, but yeah, you have CSEX and stuff like that, which is much more convenient.
I wonder how. Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering how. It's just taking me back to that kind of whole concept. There is a lot of talk in the chat room about a big update to the Electron stuff, but I can't find any information about it. But everybody's getting quite excited. Apparently, Digitone now has Digitech now has Master Tune and Digitone, so people are getting quite excited by that concept. But I cannot see. I'm looking on the Electron website. I can't see anything specific about it. So we'll just have to. If you need to know, you probably will find out, but lots of people are quite excited about that. Yeah, this is an interesting item, about €150, I think. I think they make them in, let me see, I think it might be in, where are they made? They sell them in Perfect Circuit, Thomann, coming soon, order now, Europe. Where are they based? I think they're US. Hypersynth, Canada. Oh, yeah, Canada, EU, US, Canada. I'm not sure, to be honest, but the H-card... If you need it, it could be the way forward, I suppose. But the other thing you could probably do is figure out a way, because the Raspberry Pi 4 has also been announced, which I've ordered yesterday because I'm a big fan of it. And I imagine there's probably a way you could figure out, you know, to put a ribbon connector and store all your patches on a little Raspberry Pi and dump them in there as well, which would be another way of doing it. But hey. Yes, for those who are interested, Raspberry Pi 4 has gigabit Ethernet finally, proper gigabit Ethernet with a separate controller, and USB 3, which means you can use it for network backups. It could actually, I'd be that computer you're talking about that's sitting in the background, just pulling all the stuff off your network and uploading it to your cloud services.
Yeah, I think that if you run all your data through a DX7 before it's going up to the cloud, then it will improve the sound.
Yeah, that's an idea. Hexify it. That's an idea, yeah. So convert it to hex and then upload it. Wow, imagine how long that would take. A very long time. Yeah, so there's not much more to say about that, really, is it? But, I mean, I'm thinking, so DX7, what, 1984? So that's...
83. if I remember correctly.
93, 2003, 2013, that's 36 years, and the product is still being supported and still working, and D50 as well. So good on them, I guess.
It's a
I wonder how many they will sell, and why would you buy one, I suppose? That would be the question. Can you think of a reason why you would? Well,
I wouldn't discourage people from buying it, because there's something kind of romantic about those folks who actually sat down and said, let's start this project of storing D50 sounds and DX7 sounds. I think there's something about it. So I would say they deserve some.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not saying why, as in you must be crazy. I was just thinking, what purpose would, there must be enough of a demand for these for them to get distributors and for people to buy them. So I've just found, in fact, Jason via the chat room has just sent the list of changes, improvements, master tune, bug fixes. So yeah, there's a few things. I guess it's funny, isn't it, how operating system updates and sequencer updates. When we were perhaps not working fully professionally, but we're in the creative mode, we're quite exciting, because you sort of think, oh yeah, maybe I'll be able to explore that new functionality, whereas now it's the sort of thing that you and I probably go, no way, I'm not touching that. not until I've got clear water between this and the next project, and know that compatibility is there. And all
there was I think I may have told this before on this show, but there was a project I did on Windows 3.1. And then when Windows 95, I had the beta version stuff, and I just couldn't resist it. I just installed it, and then the project played. The sound was different. It was kind of it has no high frequencies at all. It was different, so I had to have two systems. And whenever I worked on that project that was recorded on Windows 3.1, I had to go back to that, and until I finished the project, it was crazy. But yeah, in the old days I couldn't resist. I remember once I got a new motherboard for my PC, like a Pentium or something like that, and or maybe even a 468 or something, 486, and I had a session and I had 20 minutes, and I said, I'm just going to go for it. And 20 minutes before the session, I took the computer apart, changed the motherboard, put it all back together. And then when the artist came and said hello and started working, and it was all fine. It could have ended totally differently, but yeah.
God, that really is living dangerously. Yeah, how we learn. What else was I looking for? Oh yes, actually, here we go. Don't know if anybody. Some people made it to our. Let me just find the page here. Some people made it to our Sonicstate Live, which we did in, I think it was November, wasn't it? I forget now. In Bristol at DBS Music, and there was a guy, Ben Shannon, came over to record some stuff for Canadian CBC in Canada, and that's now out. So this is the NPR. So there's a 10-minute piece about, essentially it's about the kind of the timelessness of certain synthesizer designs. He's focusing on the Moog Mini Moog, because obviously he's talking to Adrian Utley. Let's see if I can play.
I'm Nora Young. This is Spark from your friends at CBC Radio. And
interesting musical instruments that's ever been created. No, really.
Ben loves synths so much, as you can tell, that a few months ago he traveled to Bristol, UK, specifically to hear synthesizer luminaries talk. But he also had a nagging question. You see, most acoustic musical instruments, like the guitar or the violin, haven't really changed in over 200 years. But electronic instruments continue to be fiddled with and upgraded. And that got Ben wondering, when will electronic musical instruments stop evolving?
Imagine if each time you sat down to play piano.
It's a very slick production, and as with a lot of radio production, I mean, I don't know if it's taken that long to do, but it's a really good job. And I like being described as a synth luminaire. And he posted this on his Facebook page, and I said, "Oh, you made me sound like an adult. Thank you very much." So, but it's good. It's a fun listen. But there's some interesting questions raised there. About the fact that these instruments, acoustic instruments, don't evolve in any way. Like they're these kind of classic. I think you used the phrase canon, which I use, and I wondered. I put that question to you. Do you think that there will be a time when they stop evolving?
first of all, can you say that the guitar hasn't evolved at all in 200 years? I wouldn't necessarily say that. No, it depends on which perspective you're looking at things, because the synthesizer running on an iPad is an evolution of a harpsichord. You know, it's a keyboard instrument that later evolved into pianoforte, and then to organs, and then to synthesizers, and now it's running on the iPad. So it is evolving. I think that the original stays the same alongside the different branch of evolution, like happens in the real world of real evolution, genetic evolution. So that's one thing. The other thing is, you know, in that cars evolve, I think that it's only natural that synth and keyboards and things like that, and all the things we love will evolve as well. I think that if you put a driver from 100 years ago, or let's say even 80 years ago, in today's car, they wouldn't necessarily know what to do or where to even start, literally.
That's never been a problem for me. My car's 15 years old. Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
You know, so things do evolve. It's just that the classical, you know, the fact is that we call it classical music and classical instruments and all that. So they have their place, and then at the same time they throw stems to different, that grow different branches and lead to different things.
No, that's a good point. I mean, it's a bit like saying, well, a hammer hasn't changed functionality since it was invented, which is a rock. But then you've got a rock with a handle, and then you've got a rock with a rubber grip on the handle to stop the shot going through. Then you've got a different kind of metal. But essentially,
and you have a power hammer.
The basic function is hitting things.
Yeah, exactly. And the basic function is making music using, in this instance, a keyboard interface. So when you know, and whatever this keyboard, whatever sound it generates, basically changes, but the same interface. But now we're experiencing a lot more interesting and diverse interfaces.
Yeah, well. I think so. I mean, I think the thrust of my, I can't remember the exact questions he asked me because it was such a long time ago, and I did listen to it a little while back. That was something along the lines of, you know, where is the innovation coming? And I was sort of suggesting that it's probably going to be in the digital realm, because there's only so much analog engineering can achieve because of the tolerances of stuff and, you know, the thinness of wires.
But you raise an interesting point, that the difference actually is the price and the accessibility.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a really good point. I think.
It's. I think that's what my point was. It's just everything's getting cheaper, so you can still do more for your money. You can't do more if your money was no object, but the accessibility check, which has been the case. I mean, that curve has been going for ages, hasn't it? I mean, that's. I was talking to somebody who came in to shoot the other day, and he used to do lots of remixes. I used to do lots of remixes, and we were wondering, you know, it all tailed off. And it was partly because of the democratization of music, which meant that anybody could have a crack. So remixers were doing things just because, you know, they'd been given a chance, and they would do it for nothing because it was kind of it wasn't necessarily a way of living. So, you know, things change from supply and demand point of view, and that's down to accessibility of the tools. I mean, if everybody could afford a really high resolution 3D printer that would make large objects, then we wouldn't require a whole series of manufacturing sort of things and shops that sold things that effectively we could make in our 3D printers, but those aren't available yet. I'm sure they will be, or maybe on the corner.
They will be.
Yeah, I mean,
just a question of time, just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting, because I mean, you presumably in your studio you've had to have all sorts of things custom built, custom made. Have you had any stuff 3D printed to you know, little widgets and cases and whatnots to fits, or have you?
No, not yet. There's some kind of plasticky bits on my desk at the end of each channel, at the two ends of the channel, which kind of holds it together. And now I'm missing one, and it really annoys me. Where is it? out of the 120, because there's 2 for each, there's 1 missing, and it really drives me nuts. So so maybe I'll get that one kind of done.
Well, because the other part, this is something that I had. There's a place online where you can kind of locate people who are and have 3D printers in your area, and you can either upload the I can't remember what the DXF files, I think they're called, or if they're close by, some of them also have 3D scanners, so you can take your thing in and it will be scanned to a reasonable rate. The really high resolution ones are very hard to come by, but you can get reasonably good, and then you can have somebody tweak the design, because it will turn it into some kind of 3D model, and then they can fiddle around with it and get the tolerances a bit better, and then print from that. And I had the same thing. It was a blind part. And this lad made me a few from just around, and it turned out it was just at the end of my garden. He was in the house opposite me. But that sort of stuff, I mean, that's all getting very William Gibson, isn't it? And that kind of, where you have these little technical, it's like the phone shop, isn't it? Where you go, the non-branded mobile phone shop, where you can get your phone fixed and the glass fixed, and they'll have all sorts. You can imagine these little sort of funky workshops where there's strange people in rooms full of boxes and wires and stuff that can make you anything you need, but it's the knowledge that we don't have because it's all manufactured. I think that
soon I think that soon enough we'll have one in our home. We'll have it will be like a washing machine or something like that. It will be probably a liquid of some sort, like mercury or something like that. Not that, but something. That's how I imagine it to be, which is all kind of numbered or whatever. Kind of each molecule has its own address, so you can just arrange them together and say save, and you get like a whatever coffee mug or something like that. And
interesting.
And then you'll just pay for the usage of that. That will be it'll be like a monthly bill.
So you just buy a big block, a cubic meter of stuff that you can then turn into whatever.
Yeah, you'll have a supply. It will maybe come in running pipes like gas or something like that to your home. That will be the kind of building blocks of the thing, and then you'll just pay someone for the usage of the software, of the designs of the for them to give the designers royalties and all that, and then you create whatever you need. Maybe including even food.
That's an interesting idea. I wonder if, but again, that's going to be difficult for electronic components because you can't 3D print. Well, you might be able to 3D print integrated circuits and chips, but things like resistors and transistors and those sort of things, they're not so easy to do. I mean, I'm sure someone will come up with a way, but the miniaturization of it is so fiddly.
Yeah, but 150 years ago, people would say it's not so easy to fly, and so things change, and very rapidly, and the rate of change is increasing as well. So,
Yeah, well,
I think it's coming a lot sooner than we think. Not only that, but other stuff as well. Yeah.
Well, I suppose as resources become scarcer, you can imagine if you have a personal plastic allowance, that you can turn into whatever you want, and then you can recycle it yourself. So it's like one day it could be, your camping chairs, and the next, when you don't need them anymore, you can put it in a machine and it'll turn into your, I don't know, whatever it is, your laptop stand or whatever. I suppose that's a kind of interesting concept. So everybody gets a finite amount of stuff to play with, and then the innovation comes in how efficiently you can build those and design them and reconstitute them.
Yeah,
well, that sounds like a sci-fi novel right there.
Yeah, it could be your bed that you sleep on, and then you kind of wake up, you get out of bed, you press the button, it kind of gets back into the yeah, exactly, into your breakfast, and then you ride on it to work.
Wow. Okay, that's even I'm having trouble to stretch that, but the concept, I'm liking the concept of that. Anyway, I think I don't really have much more. Excuse me, much more to add. I don't know if there's anything that we did have the Soma thing, but I think maybe we'll save that for another time.
Well, I think we've covered DX7, so that was the past. An Electron update is the presence, and we talked about the future. So I think we've pretty
done
much covered it.
Excellent. That's good work. So what happens to you now? Are you off? Have you back to work, or are you finishing for the day and then back in and mixing?
No, I have one mix to print, and then I'm off. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure as ever, and
My pleasure.
For putting yourself up for the one-on-one. I know we normally have more guests, but I think you've done a sterling job. So thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I'm sure, like me, you'll probably be watching the occasional Glastonbury act over the weekend. Anything that I'm trying to think who's playing that I would like to see. I can't even remember who's playing. I don't know. It passes me by, I suppose. But
I just turn it on and just watch it, whatever is on for however much I can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Okay, folks. Well, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you want to enter the competition to win Isotope's Neutron 3, we're looking for the hashtag Mix Assistant and the hashtag Neutron 3, the number 3, one word, to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. That's on Twitter, so it's a Twitter competition. The hashtag Mix Assistant and the hashtag Neutron 3 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. And you're going to win an advanced copy if you enter that competition. Well, I'm not saying you're definitely going to win, but you stand a chance of winning. Anyway, that's it for this week. I want to say thank you very much to my guest, Yoad Nevo. I'm still going to come and talk to you about that studio grid and the Waves technology. It sounds very interesting to me. So when next time we're up in London. But for now, we will see you next time. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, folks. Funny little overlay addition there. That will be in the collector's item. I'll probably get rid of that when we do the final upload. But thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.